What's happening, gang? We in this thing. Haha, you see what I did there? I am your host, King Ralph, here with the homie Kai, who has his mic muted still. But we jumping straight in, man. You here with the Juke Boys
Yeah.
Sports Show, and we in this thing, gang. How you feeling, Brody?
I'm doing good. I'm like, I clicked on the thing. It must be like a slow whatever. But anyway, I'm doing good, man. I feel like we've been away for like a month. Doesn't it feel like we've been away for like a month or something? Maybe just me.
It
I
feels
don't
too
know.
long. It's been too
Yeah,
long.
too long. But I'm good. I'm good.
Life is great. Life is great, and we going straight in, man. Make sure if you want to do any podcasts like what you're watching, shooting any music videos or photo shoots, call the number on the bottom of the screen, 707 Fitboxer. Make sure you follow some of our socials as well. You can catch me on TikTok, Twitch, Instagram at KYNG, at an underscore for Twitter, as well as on Instagram for unbiased breakdown and analysis. We got the NBA Finals heating up. We're going to talk about that today. Go on
Yeah.
Instagram, go in that search bar, type in at the.houseofhoops to follow updated content as far as our show and get updates. Make sure you go on Instagram, look up at the at J.U.K sports show, and make sure you go on YouTube, look up J.U.K media and the He Say She Say channel on Facebook. That's a lot to get out. But we going straight in. Whatever.
Yeah.
Bob Myers, the GM, now former GM of the Golden State Warriors, has stepped down.
Yes, sir.
Is this a big deal?
I do think it's a big deal. I think it's a big deal because he may not have been the number one architect per se of the Golden State Warriors, but he had an integral piece and it was an instrumental piece in four championships, right? So while he may not have drafted Steph Curry, while he may not have drafted Klay Thompson, he did have a role in having, I guess you could say, the heartbeat, which was Draymond Green. He had a very close relationship to one Draymond Green. And I believe that, people are going to speculate, but I do believe in some regards, Ralph, that this has something to do with, not wanting to make the hard decision of the extensions with a Draymond Green, with a Klay Thompson, both 33 years old, both in the final year of their deal. Right. So I'm looking at it from that kind of perspective. He also got Jordan Poole overpaid. Unfortunately, this is what it is. Not here to sugarcoat things, but that doesn't mean he's a bad player. But so a lot of the things that he's done are going to have an effect. We see the effects, moving on from a James Wiseman and seeing where he's at with Detroit. So there's been some, positives, some things that may not have necessarily went, too cool with the organization. But he did bring in Andre Iguodala. He was able to flip. I believe it was, I forgot the player's name, but I think it was D'Lo for Andrew Wiggins, who wound up being the second best player on the 2022 Warriors championship team. We like Wiggins, former number one overall pick as well. Got Andre Iguodala to buy in and not go to the Sacramento Kings, right? So I like Bob Myers. I think he did a good job in his role for what he was asked to do. And I think this could be marking the end of an era in Golden State. I don't believe that they're done completely, but I do believe it may be the beginning of the end. So that's just my own perspective of it.
I agree. I do think it's a big deal. I do think that he was an integral piece to that because he drafted Draymond. He drafted Jordan Poole. He was there, although the players orchestrated it, but he was able to make the deal work with KD, bringing in Boogie Cousins, flipping D'Lo for Wiggins.
Mm-hmm.
Those types of moves, he's been able to keep that success when people counted them out. They got that fourth ring. So I do think it's a big deal, and I'm curious to see what happens up next. Celtics getting blown out. They were able to come back from a 3-0 deficit, tied it up at 3-3, went back home to the cribby, and the Celtics get blown out in Game 7. I'm going to take the lead on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm torn because I think that it took a lot of energy to come back, but I think that it's a big deal because there's a multitude of things. How Coach Mazzulla compares last year to this year. At no point did we question Ime Udoka coaching and was he prepared for where they were. I feel like Joe Mazzulla it's been questioned whether or not he's a capable coach at this level. His rotations at times, his
Yeah.
adjustments at times, the ability to know when to take a timeout or if to take a timeout.
Mm.
So I think that those little things, it makes it a big deal because going forward, can he bounce back from being a favorite, coming back and getting blown out, while also being able to push his players to get to that level? Now we go to the players. I think people are being slightly harsh, like Shannon Sharp, for instance, my guy,
Mm.
Uncle Shay Sharp, but I definitely disagree with his criticism of Jaylen Brown's dribbling ability. And I'm like, he had 8 turnovers. But if you look at where he is among primary ball handlers in the league,
Mm.
he's in the top 20 when it comes to turnovers. But look at the people that are above him. Tatum's above him in turnovers. Trae Young is above him in turnovers. Russell Westbrook is above him in turnovers. And so at no point do we question Trae Young's handling ability. We question his decision making. Now, if you were questioning his decision making, it would be one thing, but you're questioning his ability to handle the basketball, and I just completely disagree with that. And so I think that you have building blocks for these players, but I think when it comes to your bigs, you need more offense from your bigs, and you need someone who has the scoring ability at the point guard position. Marcus Smart is a great spot up shooter, 3-and-D guy, but as a point, he's just not going to get it done. And I think that the others, like Shaq would say, it's time to look at those spots and move some of those spots to get this team in a position where they can compete for a championship.
I actually agree with pretty much everything that you said, and I also take a couple different things real quick. I'm looking at the fact that you had a defensive player of the year in Marcus Smart. You had a sixth man of the year in Malcolm Brogdon, and it's kind of funny because we were sitting up here just around the same time. I think last year it might have been June though. It was June though because they were in the or it was July because it was after the finals, and we both agreed that we like the youth of the Celtics going into the next season. I still like the youth of the Celtics. Everyone being around 25, 26, 23. I think maybe he's like the youngest player. You have a Grant Williams. Don't break up Jalen and Jason. They showed once again there's areas for both of them to improve, and that's okay. I think Tim Legler mentioned something on TV. I think it was this morning. He said, the peak of a player or the prime of a player really doesn't start until the age of 27. Look at a Michael Jordan. Look at a Giannis. Look at a Kobe. Look at a Shaq. Right. So I like the fact that there are areas that they both could improve on. And one thing that did surprise me, and this goes back to what you said before we move on to the next topic, is how they use Malcolm Brogdon. You mentioned Joe Mazzulla. He used him as a 3-and-D floor spacer, and that's not where he's most optimal as. Right. Use him as a traditional point guard, allow him to play make, which is something that we both agreed we thought he was going to be bought into because he's a really good ball handler. Yeah. And he fits that defensive identity. And I think that, Ralph, is the difference between Mazzulla and Imo Udoka. Udoka would have known, hey, let me use him like that. So I think everything that you said was spot on, and I think I like how you give people a little bit of leeway or a leash in terms of the improvement to grow. And I think if Mazzulla is not stubborn, he could possibly learn from this experience.
As long as he's not on some Josh McDaniel stuff where he just think like, "Oh, I know everything."
Right.
Humble yourself. Go back and look at the tape. Come back a better coach.
I agree.
So we got UFC 291 going up against the Spence and Crawford fight. They were both booked same night. That's a lot of money to have to spend.
High profile, man. Right. High rollers.
You're looking at anywhere from $150 to $200 spent on just the ability to watch them.
Yeah. So,
is this a big deal or is it whatever to you?
It's a big deal, man. Because you having the two big things. I mean, ain't nothing else going on. Is there any movie that we supposed to see? Creed already went out.
Then I don't really see anything because I think there's a string of movies that's coming out like the weeks coming up.
Yeah,
like pretty much we got Spider-Man, we got Transformers, we got Pixar got the Elements, as well as DC. The DCU got Flash.
Yo, I'm gonna peep that because I'm a DC guy. But yeah, back to the original question. I think it's a big deal because it's something that gives people a chance to watch some things. But I do think that it can be conflicting in terms of the scheduling, right? Now if you're the casual fan, casual fan ain't really gonna know. But I do think scheduling is conflicting enough for me, so I do think that it's a big deal because I personally am going to be watching. No offense to the UFC, but I personally am going to be watching the Crawford and Spence fight. But that's me.
And I agree, man. I think, and we'll get into that too
Later, yeah.
But I just believe it's a big fight and it's a huge fight, and I think that like the ability to call it a mega fight. I don't know if it's that. Because boxing has been overshadowed by UFC, so I don't know if we could call it a mega fight. But
Yeah.
when you, in comparison, if you just take one fight versus UFC best fight that they could make, this is probably one of the best boxing fight you can make. Period. Is if you take all the fighters that are relevant right now, this is the biggest fight that you can make. So but it's hard to compare because UFC, when you buy a UFC card, you're getting 4 to 6 quality matches at $70 to $80 that you're going to spend. Where with boxing, you're getting Spence, Crawford, maybe the undercard, depending on who's fighting, and then that's it.
Good point.
And so, I think when it comes to the casual fan,
Yeah.
bang for your buck is the UFC, but I think the biggest fight, and I think the best fight, would end up being the Spence Crawford fight if they do exactly what they said they're going to do when it comes to the build-up.
Yeah, I agree. And I also just like in terms of, I think how with boxing, not saying UFC is not the same, but you would have a little more knowledge than I would in that area. Like I feel like with boxing, they spend sometimes years just trying to build up the fight, right?
Fam.
So yeah, the Manny and Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, it took us like what? How many years? So
a great segue into that because Lomachenko has come out and said he does not believe the Tank and Haney fight will ever happen. Haney has come out and said that his opinion on why that is happening. People are afraid to get L's on their records, so they're ducking and dodging and picking and choosing which fights they're going to take. Tank and Haney have come out and said they're not ducking no smoke. They with all the smoke. So, do you agree with Lomo, or is he hating?
I think Lomo's low key hating. There's a little bit.
There's a little salt.
A little salt. But I also think that it's smart though in a way, because low key does he realize low and low key? Hey, you see what I did there? But anyway, man, I just amuse my own self sometimes. But what you call it? He's actually in a way like promoting the fight by the fight that he says will never happen. I feel like he's kind of speaking into an existence. Because one thing with boxing, everyone, right, is boxers. If you're a good boxer, any boxer, once you're at the pro level, you have a sense of pride and you have an ego. You need to, in order to stand 10 toes deep in the ring and take hits, you need to have pride. You need to have ego. And so they don't like when people call them duckers and stuff like that. I mean, look at it. Look at the greatest boxer, at least in my opinion. The record says whatever, 50 men have tried, 50 men have failed. Floyd Mayweather. People said he would duck people, didn't fight him in the prime, the whole nine. So I actually think he's kind of promoting it in a way, even if he doesn't realize it. And I actually believe that there is a possibility, Ralph, that we will get this fight. Maybe not soon, but eventually. So I actually disagree with them on this particular take. That's just my personal opinion. So
I agree. I agree to a certain degree.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah,
I think that Spence and Crawford will end up having a domino effect. Like I think that the Tank Garcia fight led to the Spence Crawford fight, and I think the Spence Crawford fight is going to lead to the next big fight because I think that at your position and at your what do we call it? Weight class. That's the cream of the crop at that weight class. So for them to make that fight, it's only going to have a trickle down effect of like Go see the best fights, man. If you want the bang for your buck as a fighter, get the most money out of your career. I feel like that's what we should be fighting for here is most money, legacy, and where you rank yourself among your peers. And so I think that you gotta fight the best in order to be the best.
I like that. That's a quote right there.
And so I think with Tank being a part of PBC, Haney being a part of Top Rank, that's the part where I say that I can see where he was coming from if he's coming from an unbiased lens. But like I said, I do think it's a little bit of his sodium levels was a little bit tight when he lost that decision to Haney.
Yeah.
Next up, Dwight Howard. Said his prime was better than Jokic. Do you agree or disagree?
So people take offense when you're on the fence, but I actually believe that it's weird. I feel like they're in the same tier. Now, some people might say sacrilege, blasphemy. When I say some people, I mean this newer generation and all that other kind of stuff. Now, let's shot at them, but I think we often tend to forget, Ralph, how dominant Dwight was. Now, we could sit up here and talk about, oh, well, what centers did Dwight face that were, he didn't face the DeMarcus Cousins in his prime and all this other kind of stuff. But look, Jokic, outside of Embiid, who's great, right? Who's great in his own right, Jokic hasn't had the luxury, just like Dwight really didn't have the luxury to go up against a prime Shaq and different things of that nature. So here's how I put it. When I look at the resume, I think Dwight, if I'm not mistaken, is 4-time. I think he actually has 4. If it's 3, I could be wrong. But Defensive Player of the Years.
It's 3.
Right. And it was during an era where he literally had the formula. That's why we were so upset that he left Orlando, because it was a formula. It was Dwight and 3-point shooters. And you had Hidu Turkoglu, who was cooking. And you had Jameer Nelson, right? And so he was able to take that team. And Vince Carter, with all due respect, he played horrible that playoff series. He was horrible.
Right.
Rashard Lewis, I like him. He was able to take that team and get to the NBA Finals, and he beat a 2-time league MVP in LeBron James, who was on a 66-win Cavs team, right? So he was able to elevate his game in the postseason and get them to the NBA Finals, and they only lost because they ran into Kobe. So it's like I look at that, and I think if you needed someone to anchor your defense, Ralph, right? Give me a Dwight Howard, a prime Dwight Howard, and he could defend the pick and roll. His physical stature mixed with his athleticism, right? We hadn't really seen that. Shaq was different because Shaq was he's a different force, right? So I actually think they're the same tier, because I understand when people say Jokic's playmaking ability is crazy. He makes crazy Dirk-esque shots. He can score. He dominated AD, who's a unicorn in himself. So I actually think they're in the same tier. I'm not going to say that he's worse than Jokic by any stretch of imagination. I kind of think that's disrespectful. But I'm not going to say that if he is better, if someone thinks he's better, I'm not going to say he's head and heels, because there were questions that we all had about Dwight and his post game or some of his lack of post moves. But I just think he was so dominant defensively that he was able to get by on that. So I think it's just era. The era was different too. So that's just me. That's kind of how I look at it. It depends on what you like. So you might have a different take though. So I'm curious.
I think that
you think.
I think that one of the things that you got to look at is Dwight's back
got hurt.
It did his prime earlier than it should have. So in the 2012-2013 season, that was the year he turned 27.
So he was in his prime, man. Like entering his prime, man.
And so from 21 to 27, and he still had another good year with Houston after that before it was a big prime.
Right.
But according to him, his back really hurt with the Lakers.
I agree. I remember that.
And so when you look at their numbers, 5 first teams, 7 all NBAs, 5 all defense, 3 defensive player of the years, and 7 all-stars.
Yeah.
In that time period. Now you take Jokic from 21 to 27, which he is right now. 3 first teams, 5 all NBAs, 2 MVPs, and 5 all-stars. Now this is the year that he got his team to a final. Dwight did the same thing, getting his team to a final. He lost that one. We'll see what Jokic is able to do But I think that sometimes you got to look at context, and we always talk about context. Would you take Jamal Murray? Would you take anybody on that Magic team over Jamal Murray?
Nope.
So it's
No disrespect to Jameer or Rashard Turkoglu, by the way.
And so it's like those guys was hoopers, but to look at what Jokic, the amount of help that Jokic has, I think that when you start to look at the eras and how the teams are built, there's a lot of things that you got to take into consideration. But if I'm strictly looking at numbers here, it's like it's not that crazy of a statement.
It's not.
I'm trying to make. And I don't want anybody to start because I think it's a shame that Dwight didn't make that top 75 team.
Thank you.
And so I think he should be on that. And so I think that at that point we would probably be having a different conversation here.
He should be in the league right now because I looked at Mo Bamba, I look at William Gabriel, and I'm sitting up here thinking like, bro, Lakers need Dwight.
Yeah,
you gotta have three dudes.
Older Dwight. Look what an older Dwight did to him head to head in the bubble.
Facts. So
at one point we was saying the bubble was looking kind of crazy in the light, but now look, we have a 4 teams from the bubble with pretty much very similar teams, except for the Lakers. The Lakers are the only one that have a completely different team.
Yeah.
But the other teams are pretty much the same teams, just with a couple different tweaks.
Yeah.
And so next up, talking about the bubble, now we got the final. Miami is back in it. One more again. Denver is in it for the first time.
Yeah.
Does Miami have an actual chance?
I always say when you get there, you always have a chance, man. You always have a chance. You know why? Because I'm not saying anyone on their team is Allen Iverson, but man, someone has heart. Allen Iverson took a game off a team that swept 4 50-plus win teams, went undefeated with a prime Shaq, a prime peak Shaq. In a budding Kobe. He took one game off, and I remember I felt some type of way because I love AI and I love Kobe. And everyone knew, like, yeah, we're going to beat them. But I was like, oh, snap, you can actually get touched up a little bit. So, yeah, Miami has a chance. Am I picking them to win? My head is saying no. Is my heart picking them to win? Yeah, my heart's picking them to win. But I got to be unbiased. As far as the predictions, Ralph, on paper, I'm going to be completely honest. I looked at this even before the series happened, did all my math, did all my tape, did all my matchups. Denver should win this series. They should actually win it pretty quickly if they're playing at the optimal level. But I'm going to give Miami 2 games if they're playing at their top. And here's why. And I'm going to swing it to you because I don't want to spend too much time as much as I would love to speak on this topic. But I like hearing your takes on things like this too. Here's why. Denver, they have home court. They've been off for, I think it was like 11 days now, something like that, 11 or 12 days, something like that. It's been a while. They have the altitude, but I do believe there can be something in terms of rest and momentum. So I think that Miami actually has some momentum going into the series where they could potentially steal a game, but Denver is undefeated at home. So they could steal game 1 and potentially get Tyler Hero back by game 3. I could see them potentially taking 2 games off of Denver because I just believe there's too much of a resilient team. And I think that they need to do dribble handoffs. I think that's what you need to do. Don't just attack them. You need to do dribble handoffs. You need to run that Caleb and Bam pick and roll. And I believe that Caleb Martin, Kyle Lowry, and what's the other dude? I said Gabe Vincent and Duncan Robinson. I think that they could shoot with Denver.
Yeah.
If they're hitting shots.
Strus in there or Strauss.
And Max Strauss, yeah, if he could have a big game. And then my last part with them is I had to find a way to get Kevin Love because Bam was absolutely, with all due respect, he was atrocious on the boards in the elimination game. Like Horford, Jason Tatum, everyone was just out rebounding Bam, bro. He's too inconsistent, and he lacks the offensive game to attack Jokic. So that's where I think that Miami can get some leverage and coaching, and they've been there before. So I'm gonna give Miami 2 games. Denver, I'm not gonna harp on it too much. The issue is you can't double Jokic, you can't play him one-on-one. He ran through the 3-time defense player of the year, Gobert. He ran through the best post defender in AD. That didn't work. Now he's going up against Bam, who got destroyed by Robert Williams. So it's like,
yeah,
all right. And then you got to do Bubble Murray, Jamal Murray. You have Michael Porter Jr., who's 6'10", who's playing defense now, moving off the ball. KCP, Bruce Brown can get up on Jimmy. But they're probably only going to have to put Bruce Brown on Jimmy. They're going to put Aaron Gordon. I saw a stat where he shoots like 22% when guarded by Aaron Gordon. I'm like, So I think Denver is going to actually win the series, but I'm going to give Miami 2 games. And with all due respect, I'm being unbiased, but I'm pulling for Miami because I would like to see Jimmy win a chip. That's all I have to say. Go ahead, man.
And I don't think you're crazy for what you're saying. I think that it's because 2 games, bro. It's like
it's tough to get 2 games off a good team too.
On paper, they stand no chance.
Respectfully,
and it's like when you start going through the roster, you're looking at when you look at matchup. It's like, all right, so at the 5, Jokic, Bam,
yep.
Aaron Gordon, and then did Jimmy play the 4?
They got old man Jeff Green. They got at the backup. The 4?
Like Miami.
Miami. They got they have K Love and Zeller and some other people who play. Jimmy might play it sometimes too.
It's something like Aaron Gordon. You're gonna take Aaron Gordon unless it's Jimmy, and that's when you take Jimmy.
Yeah, you gotta take Jimmy. Yeah.
And so then when you look at, all right, cool. So then at 3, we got Michael Porter Jr. It don't matter who they got up on the other side. We're taking Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah.
Then when you take KCP, and then as well as Jamal Murray, like it doesn't matter who's on the other side. So the starting 5, you're getting 4 out of the 5 positions are the better player is on the Nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like that heart, determination, that grit, and coaching is where can they make up for that talent disparity? Because even bringing back a Tyler Hero, people were singling him out on defense. So it's like it doesn't really. Like you're giving up a lot to get. I don't know. I think you're definitely going to get a scoring punch because 20 points off the bench, you can't really argue with 20 points off the bench. But I think that I want to give them the same respect that you're giving them, but
I feel like you're gonna say sweet, man. I feel it.
Nuggets in 5.
Okay, Nuggets in 5.
Yeah,
I like that. Cause go ahead.
Nuggets in 5.
Because I was gonna say this, Ralph. I think you're more closer to what's going to happen, though. Unfortunately for Miami, because here's the only reason why. Because Denver, they're not inconsistent like Boston is, right? So, like, when you're making predictions of teams, like, just kind of like with the Lakers, like, okay, I predicted the Lakers to get all the way up to the certain point, and then I was like, okay, Denver can beat them, but I do believe that Denver's going to probably beat them, but the Lakers have some things that they could do that could actually win the series. But it's like it's not that you're lucky. I'm not saying the Miami Heat are lucky, but at some point, what's that word, Ralph? Like when you run into a team that's like, all right, they're going to execute. They're not going to turn the ball over.
Right.
And stuff like that. So I think at the end of the day, moving on, let's see if Miami can just muck up the series.
Mm-hmm.
Just muck up the series. I saw Jimmy Butler. He looked completely – did you see that? He looked completely unenthused by that trophy presentation.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right. He's channeling his inner Kobe. Job's not finished. What am I celebrating for?
Thanks.
And so next up, we got the Florida Panthers versus the Golden Knights.
Your squad, man.
This is a rough one for me, man, because I do think that I'm such a homer, so my bias is going to show.
Okay.
And
what you thinking?
I'm gonna say Knights in 6. I just think that I think it's gonna be our year. We talk about that's destiny.
Okay.
I think we have a lot of talent on our team. We've been playing very well. We saw what happened when we play at the peak of our powers.
Okay.
Got the Dallas Stars out of there after struggling in 2 previous games. Got them out of there 6-0. 2 hat tricks. I
Mm.
think that the Florida Panthers, although they weren't really known for being a good team until recently, over the last couple of years, if you've had a conversation with me about the Golden Knights, Gallant, who was our coach when we first got the Golden Knights, had a 500 record over a 10-year span coaching the Florida Panthers. And so I think that the way that the Panthers been playing, they've been flying all over the ice. They made quick work of the Carolina Hurricanes. So it's anybody. It's up in the air. I believe I gotta check. I believe right now the Panthers are the ones that are favorite. But I gotta confirm.
We can check on that. Yeah.
But I'm definitely checking right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, no. Golden Knights are favorite in game 1.
Okay.
But I'm trying to see if I can look up the whole series,
like the spread or the series. Like who's the ultimate favorite for the series?
The
going
Golden
in?
Knights are favorite. It's minus 125
Okay.
for Golden Knights. So I'm going to ride with the favorites, but I'm also riding with the hometown team. Golden Knights in 6.
All right. Every time I hear someone say ride, I think of the Secrets Award Tupac song. You either ride with us or collide with us. It's even simple as that. Anyway, it's wartime.
I don't care what Panther it is, man. Black Panthers, Carolina Panthers, Florida Panthers, Knights in 6.
Knights in 6. I'm gonna roll with you, man. Cause one is the home team, it's the Aces. I'm not gonna give you no breakdown of the puck game. Sorry, guys, but I believe this is a team of destiny this year. Now, if they come back and get clapped, then I'm a like, yo, we got a new co-host, man. Be like, but yeah, I'm riding with it. I'm riding with the Knights in 6, man. It just feels right, man.
Right.
All right.
It feels right.
Yeah.
And next up, we got the WNBA.
Yes, sir. Power Rankings. All right.
It was some good basketball over the weekend, man. I definitely got a chance to see Elena Deladon come back and play strong. Watching Stewie against the Seattle Storm was intriguing after so many good years with them.
Yes.
Some of that good young talent, Connecticut Sun, looking real good after getting to the finals last year. I was curious to see how they were going to come out and play because they lost a big cog in that team. So I wanted to see where the others are going to the team that they have, are they going to be able to step up and fill that void that was left. So I'm gonna let you rock first.
Okay. So
here.
Yeah. So we're gonna start from the bottom. So ESPN, I actually had ESPN and I actually agree with them for now, right? So I actually agree with the power rankings. I got to go with the Washington Mystics at number 5, and I'm here to make an announcement. I am officially an Aces Mystics fan. So I live in Vegas, but I was from Baltimore. But the Mystics are as close by. We don't have a Baltimore women's team, and they also drafted once Marissa Coleman, who I actually got to see ball in 2006 for University of Maryland. So yeah, but I actually like this particular Mystics team. They have Shakur Stevenson. Ralph, if you ever get a chance to watch their games, she pretty much plays center for the team. She's great at shot blocking. Like it's nice. She like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh man, bro. And then Elena Deladon. And so they came in and they were able to beat. I actually got a chance to watch this game top to bottom. They were able to beat the New York Liberty. That doesn't mean Liberty are overrated or anything like that. It's something called chemistry. The Mystics have a lot of chemistry. Now I'm just waiting for them to kind of get some more wins up. But they're 2-2, so they're 500. I got them at number 5. Very good defensive team. They also have some guard play, and they have 3 players, if I'm not mistaken, who were all rookie teams too. So yeah, man, Mystics at number 5. So that's a team definitely watch out for. Number 4, I'm going to go with the New York Liberty. Like I said before, you already have Sabrina. You have Breanna Stewart. So you have MVP candidate there. You have Courtney Vandersloot, 2-1 currently. This week they're playing Seattle and they play the Chicago Sky twice. The Chicago Sky there, you could essentially say that they're kind of like rebuilding because the whole entire structure of their roster has changed Candace Parker is no longer there, vice versa. So, yeah, New York Liberty, they're going to hit their stride. Then the Connecticut Sun at 3-1 got them at number 3. Rebecca Gardner balling out. So yeah, I got them, and they have to play the Liberty twice, Friday and Sunday. So they got 2 tough matchups coming up. Excuse me, Chicago Sky. Excuse me. Number 2, I also have the Connecticut Sun at 3-1. They're doing their thing. They're balling. They came out to a hot start. So you're not going to see the Phoenix Mercury actually in the top 5, even though Brittany Griner had a good debut. Shout out to Brittany Griner. But they've had a couple of losses. But I expect them to turn that around. And then number 1, the obvious, 4-0, the champs, the Don Dadas, the Bees Knees, whatever you want to call them, the Las Vegas Aces. They came out angry the other day, Ralph, because Becky Hammond was on that 2-game suspension. So you don't think that they want to play with some fire? Then, and I'll say the best game I got a chance to see them play so far was actually against not the best game in terms of like the team, but in terms of just viewership, was a Sparks game with my girl Chene Ogumake. Yo, she can ball. She can ball for a reason.
She can hoop.
Yeah, she can hoop. She can hoop. They kept that joint close though. And it's funny because Asia Wilson acted like she like cursing out the ref and getting the tech and all that kind of stuff, man. And Candace Parker was like laughing, like trying to calm her down, man. Yeah, the ref was on some BS, but yeah, they just too strong. Their front court is too strong. Their guard play is too strong for Kelsey Plum. They're undefeated, so I'm gonna swing it to you, man. But that's my 5. That's my 5.
And I got the same 5, man. Some honorable mentions are some teams that you didn't mention. Dallas Wings. Dallas Wings played really well.
Well, Tierra, I think. Yeah.
But Tierra is out at the moment, so
yeah.
I'm curious to see how well they handle it with that loss. But also, I think it's Enrique Ogumwale.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she's averaging 27 points a game, and she is balling, bro. And so I think once you get Tierra back, now at that point, you might see them start to rise up this the power rankings. But at 5, I got the same thing as you, man. I got the Mystics at 5.
Mm-hmm.
I think Elena Deladon is going to pay big dividends for them. And I think when it comes to the WNBA, when you got a bona fide superstar, it can do wonders for you. Now, when you got the Aces who have a couple stars on their team, that's when it's like, that's why I'll be like, man, they cheating, bro. But I'm
Dream team.
I'm here for it though.
Yeah.
And so I actually have the Chicago Sky at 4.
Okay.
And we will see what happens next because, and I think you mentioned it, they do have the Liberty twice.
It's over.
They do have the Liberty twice. So coming off of and with the Liberty coming off of a victory over Seattle, I think that it's one of those things. They have so much talent on that team, but they need some time to gel, and that's where I think that it's going to take some time. You can't, unless you're the Heatles, and the Heatles struggled at first too.
Yeah,
you're not gonna see that growth right away. It just doesn't work like that. You got to build chemistry. Chemistry is everything. And so I got Chicago Sky at 4.
Okay.
I got the Liberty at 3. And then that's when I got the Connecticut Sun at 2 for all the reasons that you said. They're playing well. Looking to get back to another finals. So we'll see what happens as far as the season. And them Aces, man, they're just too strong. They beating the brakes off of teams.
Right.
Jackie Young is on fire. And so, and it's funny. I went to go get brunch. A little story before we switch to the next topic. I went to go get brunch at a place called Therapy down in Fremont. Service wasn't all of that. I think that is one of the things when it comes to, and as a person who's worked in the service industry, when you're trying to do too much, it can hinder your ability to give good service. when you have too many people in the building, when you're trying to have this club, lounge, party environment, but at the same time serve food and have bottomless mimosas. If I'm here for bottomless mimosas, I shouldn't have to wait 30 minutes to get my first mimosa.
Facts.
But to get back to the story, I'm sitting there looking and I'm like, is this little I seen this is it was a girl, little chocolate ting,
Mm-hmm.
and I look over at my boy and I'm like, I feel like that's her. So I Google her, type the image button, so it looks up the images of her, and I slide it to my boy and I'm like, yo, look at Shorty in the light blue and let me know if you think that's her. And he was like, bro, that's her, bro. That's her, bro. So like I'm like in my head, I'm like, do I say something or do I just let her enjoy herself? And then they was playing some good music, so like our table was kind of vibing with their table, but she's sitting on the far side and I'm on the far side of my table. So I didn't really get a chance to like speak to her.
Yeah.
But it was more so like, oh, hey, raise our drinks, cheers, like
Right.
and it was like we kind of had a conversation about as far as how bad the service was because their service was pretty bad. Right, food was really good though, which is why I was like, you know what, I'm gonna let them rock because my food was
you're gonna leave a bad Google review.
Yeah. And then once she stood up, I was like, all right, yeah, that's her.
Yeah.
I'm like, she's not super tall, but she's my height. And I was like,
okay, so she's like what, 6'1", 6 feet, something like that?
6 foot. Yeah.
6 foot? Okay.
And so I was like, yeah, that's definitely her. I was like, yo, bro, I sat next to Jackie Young, bro, and I'm a huge fan. But
that's dope though. That's real dope though.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool, man.
And next up, we got the draft coming up.
Draft. Hoops.
Last week we did centers. This week we got the power forwards. I'm not as prepared as I should have been, but hey, I watched the draft. I've been watching the combine. I watched college basketball, so I should have an idea of who's coming. But who you got, bro?
So, starting from the bottom now, we got Jalen Wilson. I'm going Jalen Wilson. He did crack my top 5 because I'm looking at talent, Ralph, but he's at the bottom. He has to be at the bottom because he's just the age factor. Once again, he's going to be 23 going into the 2023 season. For those of you guys who are like, well, who's Jalen Wilson? I'm about to tell you. Jalen Wilson, forward from Kansas. Big 12 player of the year as a redshirt junior. He can score. He can create his own shot. He pretty much was the number 1 option on Kansas last year, right? I actually saw games between him and you had Grady Dick. Those are the players there. He has experience, in terms of just like tournament experience, the whole 9. I actually like his game. The issue, he has a couple of issues though. Why I can't move him up. One I said is the age. Period. His wingspan. He's 6'7", but he's a 6'8" wingspan, and his ability to finish at the rim left a lot to be desired. Actually, he was only finishing around underneath like 55% from the rim, opposed to when he wasn't the number 1 option, he was around 60, like 64%. So it seems like he actually plays better in a complementary role than the number 1 option on the next level. His 3-point shooting was kind of streaky, about 34%. He shot 26% the season prior, but he does possess some defensive versatility, agility, and he's about 215 pounds. So he shows potential to be able to do some things at the next level. He kind of just like in terms of this, I guess you could say profile, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Cade Cunningham, even though they played nothing alike. But anyway, moving on. All right, so here's where I get it. I went back and forth, Ralph, because one's younger, like the youngest 18, the other one's 22, right? One was endorsed by Chris Paul. His name was Cam Whitmore from Villanova. People had some questions about his maturity, how he handles a couple different things. But then again, think about it. He's 18 years old. What were we doing when we were 18? I was stubborn as a mule when I was 18. I was immature. I wasn't completely disrespectful, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But he has so much upside. And then you have Chris Murray, Iowa, 22 years old, perfect pick and pop guy. Look at his brother, Keegan Murray. He's not as athletic as Keegan, right? He's not as good of a shooter as Keegan, but he does possess something that would translate to the next level, and that's shooting ability.
True.
And he had a game where he had, I think, his biggest game to put down was he had a 31 point, 20 rebound game versus Georgia Tech. So I'm like, do I want to put Chris or do I want to put Cam at number 3? So with that said, at number 4. I'm putting Cam at number 4. I think he's a little more raw prospect than Chris Murray, but I think he has more upside than Chris Murray because I believe that Chris Murray is just going to be the brother that's not as good as Keegan, but he's definitely going to translate to the NBA level. So I'm going to put Cam at number 4 for now. And then I got Chris Murray at number 3. And then at number 2, I got G.G. Jackson, 18 years old from South Carolina. Averaged 15.4 points per game, 6 rebounds. His field goal percentage was not really that great, but I'm not one who really just looks at field goal percentage. I look at the context around it, the types of shots that you're asked to be able to make, right? You can't just look at stats. I didn't learn how to play basketball by looking at stat sheet. You didn't learn how to play basketball looking at stat sheet. You looked at the game, right?
Right.
So he was thrust into the number 1 role, but he has NBA 3-point range. His shot selection can be kind of questionable at times, but he has a solid handle. He's 6'10". So I like guys that are tall but can also handle the ball, who can also shoot. And I like his youth. So I put him right underneath my number 1, played for the number 1 seed, who busted my bracket, Jarace Walker. Bro, man, I remember I said it with so much emphasis. It was me, you, and Tar. I was like, yeah, Houston's going to win. Houston, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so here's what I like about Jarace Walker. The dude, he's 6'8", 7'2.5" wingspan, right? He had the 4th highest vertical leap out of all athletes, not just his position, out of all athletes. But the thing with him, man, is defensively, man, this dude, like, he can defend multiple positions, and he has a knack for shot blocking. Like, he's gonna block a whole lot of stuff. I think he averaged like 4 blocks going up through like the Sweet 16. But one thing that's not really talked about more than just on-ball defense is he knows how to cut off people like what is it like, Ralph, when you see like the baseline, he understands angles.
Right.
He understands angles a lot. And he can also draw the defense to the help defense. So he can do that. Now you might look at his assists and be like, oh, well, he only averaged 2 assists per game. Yeah, but the thing is, he makes quick passing decisions, and he's a good passer out of like the role as a role man. Like, okay, you set the pick, give him the ball, and he can like dish it, kind of like J.U.K, just dish it real quick. He has good vision, so he has a lot of things, Ralph, where he does a lot of different things well. And so I like those guys that are just very versatile. He has size, he has athleticism, he has defensive versatility. He needs to improve his free throw shooting. But outside of that, man, I like him. So I got Jarace Walker from Houston as my number 1 prospect. So I actually like the power forward position a lot better than the Victor Wembanyama position.
Right.
That's my guy, man. And I'm curious to see what you're able to come up with. But yeah, those are my 5.
I think I pretty much got everybody you have.
Okay.
Gregory Jackson, I got him as well.
Okay.
I have him ranked a little lower just because I think some of the other players are a little bit more polished.
Yeah.
At their positions, but I definitely got Chris Murray. I have him at 3 in my spots, in my top 5 spots. I got Jarace Walker at 1.
Okay.
And then I got Trace Jackson Davis. I just believe he's more of a polished product when it comes to this. And I think sometimes we get so enamored with what someone could be that we forget what they are at this point and in their careers. And so when I just don't see anybody at this position outside of a Walker who could, and maybe you could get Taylor Hendricks, who could possibly be in that top, like that lottery pick spot.
Okay.
So I think with some of the other, once I'm outside of the lottery, I'm gonna take someone who's a little bit more of a solid pick, and I think that Trace Jackson Davis is that. I also think that, like you said, Chris Murray. I think that him being an older player, a junior, I think that he is someone who's more of a a polished product as well. And then I do like the Gregory Jackson pick because I think he's long rangey, the face, like he has the ability to take you off the dribble and face up. He's shooting, he shoots pretty well, and is getting better at that. And so I think that playing for those SEC schools where there's just athletes out there, but being able to stand out amongst the trees, I guess you could say, is where I would say that I think that it's. I'm curious to see how far he goes because I've seen him be like, according to CBS has him as a first rounder, but then I've seen someone, I forgot what the other website was, but he was a second rounder.
Oh wow.
And so I'm curious to see what happens and where he goes. But with the rest of the time we got left, man, we got some quick hitters.
Yeah.
Said he would love Hopkins on the Browns and would be welcome to a reunion. Would this be the best fit?
For DeAndre Hopkins, I don't think it would be the best fit, with all due respect to Watson, but I do believe that I don't believe it would be a bad fit, because why not get him another receiver there, right? I actually think that, real quick, Deshaun Watson's going to have a bounce back season. Now, if he goes out there and throws 30 interceptions, delete this tape. But hey, all my homies, man, and like my chats, bro, have been like, I know they're going to take note of everything I'll be saying, right? Because I've been saying, I said something about like how because this is a quick take, but pretty much I feel like I don't condone whatever. I don't know really what went down, but off the field stuff. If you just look at the football take, right, everything lines up for Deshaun Watson to have a bounce back season. That's pretty much what I'm saying, right? And I said people have to realize, if I'm mistaken, I think I had him top 5 or something like that. Like he was like that dude prior to being out for 2 seasons, so he just didn't forget how to play football. And you have Nick Chubb and all that, and you have rapport and chemistry, years longs of chemistry, and a year-long rapport, excuse me, with Watson. With Hopkins. So I actually think that it would be a solid fit, but I don't think it would be the best fit for what Hopkins wants. So
I think when it comes to what Hopkins wants, but also at the same time what the team that's going to sign him needs, is cool as it would be to get Lamar.
Yeah,
all the weapons in the world. I think at that point you're doing too much. When it comes to Buffalo, you already have Dawson Knox. You just drafted Dalton Kincaid, Gabe Playoff Davis, and Stephon Diggs. I feel like you would be having too much at that point.
Okay.
Philadelphia is another team that I hear has been linked because he said that he mentioned Jalen Hurts. I think that's doing too much because you already had Devontae. You already have what's your boy? You call him Nino Brown.
AJ Brown. AJ Nino Brown? Yeah.
AJ Brown. A school of running backs. And Dallas Goedert. So I think at that point, like, you're just doing too much. So the two teams that make the most sense in terms of what he needs versus what they need, I think having Cleveland, Deshaun, you already have Peoples-Jones, you got Elijah Moore, you got Amari Cooper, bringing in a D-Hop, who is a legit number 1, to put him on the other side of Amari Cooper in that wide receiver room. Outside of the Chiefs, it's the one that makes the most sense in terms of what a team needs and what he actually wants out of his quarterback.
Quick question for you. Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, quick question for you. If he goes to the Chiefs, though, is it over for the league?
No.
Okay. I don't think so either.
Yeah, because it's a lot can happen.
I agree. I don't want him to go to the Chiefs. Please, no. But, okay.
And then we got Elliot Cadeau has reclassified into the 2023 recruiting class, starting college this fall and summer. Is this a good decision for him?
He sounds like a Hall of Famer, Elliot Cadeau. But you know, that's a cold name, man.
Right.
Cadell. I'm like, okay, I see you. I actually do think it's a good decision. I don't have his quotes in front of me, but he pretty much said that he always intended to be one and done, and being able to do this still allows him to be one and done. He said he was able to accomplish his goals that he personally set out for him, in high school and vice versa. He also, Ralph, has international experience. I believe he played for the French national team, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, please, guys, correct me. Let me know. I don't want to, get the country wrong. Stuff
Makes a
like
lot
that.
of sense with that name.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was French Cadeau. Yeah. So he's played for, I think under 17, under 16, whatever team. So he's had that. He also was played for the I think it was the EYBL, if I'm not mistaken. He led them in assist. I think it was 9.3 assists, if you want to be exact. So and by a wide margin. And he's an elite playmaker, like Hubert Davis said. So I actually like this. They also have a very nice class. And they have someone who is like a candidate for ACC Player of the Year there as well. So I think they have a strong starting five. He also said it gives him a chance to come in right away and contribute as a ball handler and initiate the offense for UNC. And also they need someone like him to be able to, once again, get back into the tournament and be able to make a run into the tournament, because UNC in its history is known as a powerhouse. So I actually don't have any issue with this move, because for his personal goals and for the team, I think they align with one another. So that's me.
And then next up, man, we talked about the Spence and Crawford fight. And is this the biggest fight we've seen since Mayweather Pacquiao? And this is the part for me that I wanted to jump in on.
Go ahead. You go ahead. Yeah.
I can't wait for it too, because we've won. I've been asking for this fight for a long time. I'm a big Spence fan.
Okay.
But also at the same time, I think that Bud Crawford is the cream of the crop as well. And so I think getting that ability to see the top at their weight classes go head to head, which is also one of those things that we've been talking about for years. We've talked about picking and choosing fights. We've talked about people ducking. We've talked about promoters purposely not picking fights. We've talked about promoters getting in the way of these big fights. And so I think when we start to talk about the history of boxing, as well as we got Tyson Fury, Wilder, we got Canelo versus Triple G, we got, and those are the only two that I can really think of that is on that level of what we're talking about here, but at the position and the skill set and the allure behind the fight, I think that the fight build-up has the ability to match the fight itself. And when it comes to the Wilder fight, no disrespect to Wilder, but he just didn't have the technical ability to sit there and outbox Fury. And that's the part for me where, although I am a huge fan of Wilder and was a huge fan of him as his boxing acumen, but it just wasn't what it was supposed to be. It was a whole lot of talk and excuses on why certain things didn't get done. And so for me, I do think that this is the biggest fight since the Mayweather Pacquiao fight. But it's also a fight, it could be a bigger fight than that one, because we're fighters in their primes. So we could see this fight happen more than once.
I like that angle, because I was gonna say I kind of like the way you asked the question. Was it is the biggest fight, not the biggest? You know what I'm saying? Not the biggest fight, because I feel like that fight was bigger. We know it was bigger,
right?
But they were out of their prime, so yeah. But I actually agree with that take, and I think Spence can get him, but I feel like if we have more time, we could go into more of an analysis. But I guess we'll do that some other time. So yeah,
and we got a lot of time, man. I know we said we're going to wrap up this first season.
Yeah.
After when the NBA Finals is wrapped up. So, but that fight, like we said, coming July 29th. And so we got plenty of time. We'll be back way before then. But let's get up out of here. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you watch the ticker at the bottom. Instagram, TikTok, Twitch at KYNGREOPH at an _ for Twitter. If you want unbiased breakdown and analysis, at the.houseofhoops. And we're out of here. Thanks for watching.